Welcome back to Ritual's Vault, where horsepower never dies. I'm Retro Vault 4, and today we're popping the hood on a car that never tried to impress anyone, the 1973 Ford Maverick. No spoilers, no drama, just honest, compact muscle, because modern cars forgot what muscle means. This stubborn little sedan has stories to tell. Let's talk names, because Ford's naming department clearly loved a good origin story. The Mustang traces back to free-roaming horses descended from the Iberian breeds, shipped over by Spanish explorers in the 1500s. Shipwrecked, abandoned, and left to fend for themselves, these horses multiplied across the plains until they became a walking, galloping metaphor for speed and freedom. Ford bottled that legend in 1964, wrapped it in chrome, and the world never looked back. But Spain's other gift to Ford's lexicon wasn't equine, it was bovine. Longhorn cattle driven north by settlers eventually became the namesake for the Maverick. Their owner, Samuel Augustus Maverick, refused to brand his herd, which sounds lazy until you realize it accidentally turned his last name into a synonym for independence. A century later, that same unbranded, do-your-own-thing attitude found its way into Ford's compact car lineup. So really, the Maverick isn't just a car. It's a Texan grudge against paperwork, four wheels and all. Think about that. One car named after a mythical, freedom-chasing horse, another named after a rancher who couldn't be bothered with a branding iron. Ford basically built part of its lineup on the idea that the best legends refuse to follow the herd. The Mustang got the glory in the magazine covers. The Maverick got the quieter, scrappier legacy. Proof that not every icon needs a spotlight to earn its stripes. By 1973, the Maverick had grown up just enough to look responsible. The once optional chrome grille became standard, giving the front end a little extra swagger without asking permission. Federal 5-mile-per-hour bumper regulations meant the front bumper bulked up slightly. Think of it as the car doing a few reps before hitting the gym mirror. Inside, buyers finally got an AM/FM stereo because a proper road trip deserves a soundtrack. The 1973 oil crisis turned out to be an unlikely wingman for the Maverick. As gas prices spiked and buyers scrambled for smaller, thriftier cars, the compact Maverick suddenly looked less like a budget choice and more like a smart one. Production rolled on into 1975, right up until the Granada arrived to nudge the Maverick toward retirement with a more European-flavored luxury vibe. Body style-wise, the two-door sedan ruled the roost with 148,943 built, trailed by 110,382 four-doors and 32,350 grabbers. That grabber trim, introduced back in mid-1970, brought a spoiler, bold graphics, and sportier trim. Plus, since 1971, a dual dome hood that made the Maverick look like it meant business, even if it mostly just meant Tuesday. Not bad for a car built on a budget with a personality that punched well above its price tag. Under the hood, the 1973 marked a quiet revolution. The 170 CID engine was retired and the 200 cubic inch inline-six stepped up as the new standard heartbeat. The 3.3-liter Thriftpower 6 made 84 horsepower at 3,800 RPM, breathing through a Motorcraft one-barrel carb with a cast iron block, 8.3-to-1 compression, and 7 main bearings holding it all together like a steady handshake. Want a little more grunt? The 250 cubic inch 4.1-liter Thriftpower 6 offered 88 horsepower at a lazier 3,200 RPM with a longer stroke and 8-to-1 compression, still breathing through that same one-barrel carb, proof that Ford believed in keeping things simple, not spicy. For buyers who wanted an actual attitude, the 302 cubic inch Windsor V8 brought 135 horses at 4,200 RPM, a two-barrel Motorcraft carburetor, and 5 sturdy main bearings. It wasn't a muscle car engine chasing core-mile glory. It was more like a reliable friend who shows up early and never complains. Torque over theatrics every time. 3 engines, 3 personalities: the steady one, the lazy one, and the one that wanted a little fun. None were setting drag strip records, but that was never the assignment. The Maverick's engine bay was built for commuting, not conquering, and every one of these mills ran for a decade, asking little more than an oil change and a little respect. Sending power to the wheels, the Maverick kept things refreshingly uncomplicated. Buyers could opt for the Ford C4 3-speed automatic, a gearbox that shifted with the calm confidence of someone who's done this 1,000 times before. Or for the purist and the patient, there was the 3-speed column shift manual, that classic 3-on-the-tree setup where changing gears meant a little wrist choreography on the steering column instead of the floor. Neither option was flashy, neither pretended to be a race car transmission either, but together they captured exactly what the Maverick was about: dependable motion, no unnecessary drama, and a shifting experience that asked nothing more of the driver than a steady hand and a little patience. Its mechanical equivalent of a firm handshake, nothing fancy, just getting the job done. The column shift manual in particular is a bit of a time capsule now. Younger drivers see it and squint like they've discovered ancient hieroglyphics, while old-timers just smile and reach for it out of muscle memory. And the C4 automatic, it was Ford's workhorse gearbox of the era, showing up in everything from Mustangs to trucks, because if something works, why reinvent it? The Maverick's drivetrain wasn't chasing innovation, it was chasing dependability, and by that measure, it delivered every single time. Underneath, the Maverick borrowed its bones from the Falcon, riding on that familiar unibody chassis like a comfortable, well-worn pair of boots. Up front, independent cold spring suspension handled the bumps with a bit of civility, smoothing out potholes without turning every drive into a chiropractic appointment. Out back, things got a little more old school with a live axle and leaf spring setup. Simple, tough, and about as fussy as a pickup truck. It wasn't cutting-edge engineering, but it didn't need to be. This was a chassis built for grocery runs and daily commutes, not canning, carving, and it did the job with the quiet reliability of a car that never once complained about the workload. Sharing bones with the Falcon meant Ford wasn't reinventing the wheel, literally or figuratively. The unibody construction kept things light and rigid enough for everyday duty, while the suspension setup prioritized comfort and cost over cornering bravado. You won't find the Maverick carving up a mountain pass in anyone's fantasy garage, but for the daily grind of stoplights, driveways, and the occasional pothole ambush, this chassis was more than up to the task. Simple, sturdy, and refreshingly unpretentious. Step inside the 73 Maverick, and you're greeted with an interior that skipped luxury entirely and went straight for function. Budget-friendly was the mission, and cheap plastics were the weapon of choice, giving the cabin a coarse, no-nonsense texture that said, "We spent the money on the engine, not the armrests." The vinyl bench seats sat front and center with the driver's controls and gauges arranged in a straightforward, no-frills layout built purely around the visibility and ease of use. 1973 did bring a couple of welcome upgrades, though, like that AM/FM stereo that we mentioned before made its debut, and a glove compartment finally joined the party, having been notably absent on earlier Mavericks. Wood trim? Leather accents? Oh no, not here. The dashboard and door panels kept things simple, plastic, and honest. This was a throwaway car by design, affordable to buy, cheap to maintain, and never trying to be anything more than a practical, no-frills cabin built to compete with the imports nipping at its heels. There's a certain charm in that honesty. No fake wood veneer trying to convince you it's a luxury car in disguise. Just a cabin that told you exactly what it was the moment you sat down. It wasn't built to age like fine leather. It was built to survive grocery bags and the occasional spilled soda, and for that job, it did just fine. Out back, the Maverick relied on a Ford 8-inch rear differential, compact, tough, and perfectly suited to a car that valued substance over spectacle. For drivers wanting a little extra grip when the pavement got greasy, the optional track lock limited slip differential was there to help both rear wheels pull their weight, rather than letting one spin uselessly while the other watched. It wasn't a flashy option, but it was the kind of quiet upgrade that separated drivers who understood the car from those who liked how it looked in the driveway. A small detail, sure, but one that mattered the moment the road got slick. Size-wise, the Maverick kept things tidy. Two-door model stretched 179.4 inches long, while the four-doors added some extra hallway space at 193.9 inches. Width held steady at 70.5 inches across the board, and height came in around 53.5 inches for two doors and 53.4 inches for four doors. Practically twins, give or take a hair. Wheelbase told a similar story. 103 inches for the two-door, stretching to 109.9 inches from for the four-door, giving rear passengers a bit more legroom to stretch out. On the scales, the two-door tipped in at 2,909 pounds, with the four-door adding a bit more heft at 3,011 pounds. Nothing here screamed heavyweight champion, and that was exactly the point. Light, compact, and easy to park, even by someone who's never quite mastered parallel parking. In an era when American cars were still flirting with land yacht proportions, the Maverick stood out by simply refusing to bloat up. It fit in tight city spaces, squeezed into cramped garages, and never made you sweat trying to navigate a crowded parking lot. That compact footprint wasn't just about economy. It gave the Maverick a nimbleness that a lot of its bigger, heavier contemporaries just couldn't match, no matter how much chrome they were carrying. Every classic has its bragging rights and its blind spots, and the Maverick is no exception. On the plus side, simplicity was king. An easy-to-work-on chassis, straightforward mechanicals, and an engine lineup built for longevity rather than lap times. It was affordable new, cheap to maintain, and forgiving to drivers who just wanted reliable transportation without a finance degree. Flip side, the budget-first philosophy meant corners got cut. Interior materials were about as premium as a gas station sandwich. Sound insulation was minimal, and performance, especially with the base 6-cylinder, was more leisurely stroll than sprint. The leaf spring suspension, while tough, wasn't winning any handling awards either. Still, the Maverick's greatest strength might be its honesty. It never pretended to be a sports car or luxury cruiser. It just showed up, did the job, and asked for very little in return. Sometimes that's exactly what makes a car endure. And endure it did. Decades later, Maverick still turn up at car shows and cruise nights, proof that it being cheap and cheerful isn't a death sentence for a classic, even though Ford tried turning it into a truck. Sometimes it's the reason it survives. Parts are easy to find, repairs don't need a second mortgage, and there's something satisfying about a car that never tried to be more than it was, yet somehow became a cult favorite anyway. And there you have it. The 1973 Ford Maverick, a car that never needed a shout to be heard. Practical roots, Texan attitude, and just enough grabber swagger to keep things interesting. It's proof that you don't need chrome and drama to leave a lasting mark. You just need to be unapologetically yourself, show up every single day, and let the work speak for itself instead of the badge on the trunk. It's a reminder that not every legend needs a spoiler and a supercharger. Sometimes it just needs a stubborn Texas name and a willingness to keep on running long after everyone stopped expecting it to. So tell me in the comments, would you rock a 73 Maverick as your daily driver, or does it belong strictly in the garage as a weekend project? Maybe you've even got a Maverick story of your own. I want to hear it. If this deep dive fueled your love for the retro iron, smash that like button and subscribe so you never miss a build. Because around here, we live by one rule. Keep it loud, keep it classic.